Hey everybody, it's Ashley from Lovely Commotion. I'm hoping you can see me. Can you see me? If you would leave a comment in the section below, let me know where you're from and how you're seeing this. I'm going to refresh this, see if it's working all right, so we can go ahead and get started. Oh, from Michigan, awesome. Absolutely love seeing where everybody is from. It's so fun how we all can meet up from like all around the world. It's awesome. Oh, yes, we're getting some friends in now. I'm so excited to share this with you today because this is one of my passion points is learning through games. So I'm so excited to see you. Yay, you see me. Okay, awesome. Real quick, down below on that page you're on, there is a workbook. If you have not gotten it yet, it will be really helpful during this webinar because it'll go through all the games we're going to do and give you a place to kind of make notes and things like that. So right down below where you're chatting, you should see that link for the free workbook. And while you're down there too, there's also the free game boards, and some of those game boards are the ones we're going to be talking about today. So go ahead and grab this if you haven't already. And it talks about the 10 math games that we are going to talk about today. So I'm going to wait just a minute or two, see if anybody else is going to join us today. Who's off for President's Day? We are. Woo, we're off for President's Day. I know not everybody is, but we got lucky, got off today. That's why I could do this during the day today. Okay, well, if you do not already know who I am Ashley Rives. I am the owner and creator of Lovely Commotion. I'm a preschool teacher. I teach in a private Christian preschool, and I adore early childhood. And so I love to share with other teachers, and I also make resources for teachers to help you bring some play into your classroom along with learning. So before we get started on the actual games, I wanted to talk to you about the why of playing games in preschool. And obviously, they're fun, right? That's the very first why. But it feels like playing to kids. And you can really sneak some of those awesome practice skills, like rote skills, counting. We feel like we count all the time. Well, in a game, counting multiple times in a row is a great way to help students work on those skills, but yet do it in a fun way. So we're gonna talk about some of those games today, and almost all of them have to do with counting. Also, things that games can do beyond the skill that you're working on is also the social aspect of it. The turn taking, the working together, losing and winning. I know a lot of preschool teachers kind of steer away from games that are a win and loss game, but I honestly think, especially in my classroom, that it is a great teaching moment. So I talk to my students about winning and losing graciously. We talk about how, we all are winners because we're playing the game and we are learning. And then we always make sure to finish the game with the other child who has not yet won. So I always make it a chance for everyone to get to the end so that everyone is a winner. And we also talk about what it looks like to be a game player. And so we talk about, I'm so glad you won this time. Maybe if we play again, I'll get to win. And we both can be winners because we both played this together. And then I always really, really strongly encourage them to thank their partner when they're done playing. Thanks for playing that with me. That was really fun. Because sometimes it's a lot more fun to play a game with a partner and with a friend than it is just to play a game by yourself. So that's kind of my why of why I really like to bring it in, because it makes it something contagious. They want to keep playing it over and over again. And so the question could be asked, why couldn't I just do a worksheet about this same skill? Like, it would be a lot easier, just going to copy it and not have to make a game and all that. But I would encourage you to really try games in your classroom if you haven't already. And if you have already, maybe expand on some different games that we talk about today, because your students will be missing out on that social aspect that a worksheet could never teach. And while worksheets do give them a sense of accomplishment, so does a game. And many times when they're playing a game, they will say, wow, okay, I won that time, but if we play again, I wonder what will happen. I wonder what will happen next time. And with a worksheet, they're not going to wonder what happens next time because it's over. And so this really just opens it up to them wanting to play more and more and be more engaged with these, with games. So in your workbook, you should see on page 2 a list of 10 games, 10 math games. And I'm going to go through these with you and try to explain them the best I can. And I'm hoping that you find some that you can take back to your classroom and use. And also, if you were not here before and did not hear, right down below is the workbook for free download. And also there is a free sampling of some of the games that we'll be talking about today so that you can just print them off, go back to school and try them out. So let's get started with path games. Path games are the games that I think most everybody thinks about when they think of board games and games. They're just a very simple game to play. They have a start and an end, and then there's a path to go along. This is one of the most common games that people play with their students. And what you can use is you can either use a dot die to move around the board, or you can use a numeral die. And you can buy some numeral dice, you know, different places sell them. I just made my own because I'm cheap like that. And this adds a whole new skill in there, right? So we're going to count the dots. We're going to recognize how many we got, and we're going to move those spaces. So we're already counting with one-to-one correspondence. But this adds in a little bit of numeral recognition. So that's kind of fun too. And then obviously with game pieces, and we're going to talk about different game pieces you can use towards the end, along with spinners and different dice that you can use. But that manual dexterity, and they're also using that hand-eye coordination to move from spot to spot. And we're really working on moving with one-to-one correspondence, which always amazes me when I play games with my kiddos, because sometimes I have to hand over hand take them and move them space by space because it seems like it should be an easy concept, but sometimes they get ahead of themselves. And so it's awesome for that one-to-one counting. So these are path games, pretty simple, pretty easy. This one's in the free download for you to use. This one obviously doesn't have a ton of spaces. Also, this can be a 1 or 2 player game. They can play it by themselves and try to get to the end, or they can play it with a friend and move along together. I like to use erasers, like from the dollar spot, and they get to pick their own eraser, and that's their mover. So it's super simple. You don't need a lot of tools, but this is path game, one I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next game on the list, which is grid games. And these are fairly common too. But in the download, I put a 10-frame grid game because I'm sure that our kindergarten teachers would love our friends to get familiar with these 10 frames. And this is a pretty simple, simplified board. And what I would do is either have them color it, stamp it, dot marker it, add a sticker, whatever they're wanting to do to it. But we're working on filling up from left to right, return, sweep, top to bottom. And this just gets them familiar with this frame. And again, you can use the numeral die if you want. You can use the regular die, but this is a very simplified version. Another dice that you could use with this that I do like to use that I created is a subitizing dice. So basically it goes from 1 to 4. And kiddos are looking at it and we're wanting them to see how many are there without having to count them. And so that's why it only goes from 1 to 4. So that's also a great tool for games that aren't very long. But if you're looking for a little bit of a longer game, this grid game is super fun too. Like this one, they rolled a 5 on their dice and they dot painted 5. And then they roll again. And they practice that return sweep, left to right, top to bottom, just like we do when we read. So we are starting, maybe math games, but we're also laying that foundation for this is how we read. We go left to right, we go top to bottom. So that is one of the major reasons why I love grid games. And Generally, we play this single player because it would be kind of difficult, I think, unless you maybe use different colors on the grid to play with two-player. But this one is awesome for that left or right return sweep. So that is grid games. How many of you have heard of grid games before? Is that something I never know what some people find new and exciting and some already are aware of. But I'm hoping with 10 games, I'll be able to share one with you that you haven't seen before. So after grid games comes the number line game. Now this one's really simple and there's not a lot to it, but in the download I gave you a 1 to 10 number line. And we can play this 1 or 2 player. And what I like to do is my kiddos start on 1, obviously. And you could use movers or you could use clothespins on the top, as long as they're different, okay? And then we're gonna roll a die. A supervising die would be good for this one too, because it only goes to 10. I also have made one that goes to 20. But we're gonna roll it and we're gonna move that many spaces. And then we're gonna talk about the numeral we landed on. Oh, I'm on 4. Okay, then the next person takes a turn, rolls, they move down. Oh, I'm on 5. And then we start talking about when we get closer to the end, to 10, how many away are we? Are we 3 away from 10? We can really slide some math vocabulary in there as well. And I like how we're comparing sets. So we realize that we're going left to right, and we are getting familiar with this thing called a number line and how these numbers go in order and how this is a big number, this is a small number, and how many numbers it takes to reach it. So I really like this for number sense and just becoming familiar with a number line, because that's something that they will see later on when they get to kindergarten. So there's that number line. I'm going to refresh the chat real fast, see if there's anything new going on. Make sure everybody's doing okay. It's not wanting to load, of course. Okay, the next game might be a new one for you. I really like this game too. I'm probably going to say that about all the games because we have so much fun playing games that we love all of them. But this one is called the All Gone game. And the All Gone game is great for the early concept of subtraction. So basically, it's a 2-player game. And basically what you have is just a mat. And like this one is hot cocoa. So we lay this mat down and we sit across from each other. So we each get our own cup of hot cocoa. And what I generally like to start with around 10 objects. So like for the hot cocoa, I use puff balls to look like marshmallows, or you could use real marshmallows. I have one that's a pig and we use pennies like a piggy bank, things like that. But each person is going to get this 10 items. So if I had puff balls, we each would have 10 on our side. So we each start with 10 and we're sitting across from each other. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to roll the dice, or I've also got numeral cards, which are kind of fun too. And just use these like regular cards. I have not laminated these yet. My laminated copies at school, but I like to put something paper on the back of them so that they are not so see-through. Flip them over. I got a 6. So I am going to take off 6 of my marshmallows. And then my friend goes, let's pretend they got 3. They're going to take 3 marshmallows off of their board. And we're going to play until somebody has no more marshmallows on their board and they're all gone. It's the name All Gone game. So that is how we're going to play the All Gone game. And I like this because we can talk about least. Who had the least? It's not always about having more. Sometimes it's about having who has the least. And if you want to up this game, you want to make it a little bit harder, just add more counters, add more manipulatives to it. And that will make it a longer game. And that will make it a game that they will have to do more counting with. And again, I love it. 1 to 1. I'm having to take 1 item, pull it aside. 2 items, pull it aside. You could also use your numeral die if you wanted to. So that is the all gone game. And you can make so many of these. I mean, there's so many fun things that you could use as counters. You could use birthday cakes and use actual candles as the counters. That would be super fun. You could use like a beach scene and use shells. I mean, there's so many different, and especially for holidays, candy hearts would be fun. Jingle bells. I mean, there's so many amazing things that you can keep doing this over and over again. And kiddos aren't going to get bored with it because it's a new manipulative. It's a new fun way to play this game. And eventually they'll get to where they can play it by themselves, which is totally awesome. So this is the all gone game. Oh, yes, I see some that say, yes, we love grid games. Awesome. Lauren says, working on making some games for my classroom this weekend. Yay. So you're off too, Lauren. Awesome. Okay, race game. Race game I love because in one version, there's actually 3 types of race games I'm going to share. But in 2 of the versions, it's a object or a character that wins. So we're not talking about kiddos winning. We're talking about characters or objects winning. So the first one I want to show you is the color race. And this one you could use, I mean, there could be any different color you want to use. This is the fishy races. So these fishies are red, blue, yellow, and green. So basically what they're going to do is they can either use a colored die, and I have those awesome ones where you stick, they're like fabric and you stick whatever you want down in them. I can't remember what they're called. But they're pretty expensive. So if you want to have your own die, you know, make your own die, just put the 4 colors on here and away you go. You could also make a simple spinner. I haven't added the brad to this. My other one is at school, but they could simply spin. What they do is whatever color they get, let's say they got red, they're going to color in 1 space for the red fish. So they roll again. Oh, I got blue. 1 space for the blue fish. And I keep playing until one of these fish gets closest to the finish line. So we are really working on one-to-one correspondence quite a bit. We're also comparing sets. So I sit with them in small group while they're doing this, and we talk about, oh, that yellow fish, he's getting really close. How many more does he need to get to the finish line? Oh, he needs 2. Do you think green fish can catch up? You know, we talk about comparing these sets. He has 7, he has 8, you know, we talk about all those things. And so they really love it because sometimes they'll pick a favorite color and like pull for that fish, but they're not winning. Their fish is winning. A certain color fish is winning. And again, you can play it again. A lot of times they'll say, oh, I want to play that again because maybe my yellow fish will win this time. Maybe I really want yellow, maybe yellow will win. And, you know, they wouldn't have to color in the boxes if you didn't want them to. They could move a mover down. It's however you want them to do. But basically, they're going to move 1 space for every time that they roll the color or spin the color. You could also do this, like if you wanted to do letters, if there was 4 different letters you wanted to work on, or maybe more, you could add those here, make a dice or a spinner to go with it. You could do shapes. The possibilities with this are very open-ended because you can decide what goes over here. And you can also decide different colors. If you found that your kiddos are struggling with certain colors, you can add those here. So that, I call it the color game, but honestly, it's very open-ended and it could become, you know, what you need it to become. So that's the first race game. The second race game is called Race to the Top. And I love this game, and I don't know why, but I do. I love it. So here it is. It basically has all these animals. So this is the zoo version, and there's 6 different animals, and they're numbered at the bottom. So we're doing some numeral recognition here because we are going to roll the die. And when we get a 2, we're going to color in 1 spot for Mr. 2 because he earned 1 spot up. We rolled for him. So we're having to count the die, dots on the die, and we're having to match that up with the numeral. So just like in the fishy races game, We're going to keep rolling, and we're going to keep working on it. Very much like a graph, right? And so they're going to see who can get to the top, race to the top, who is going to win. And again, we can use those comparing words and all those awesome, you know, oh, Hippo here, he's only got 2 left. How many, you know, who's in the lead, who has the most, who has the least, all those great words we can talk about. So this one's very simple. And, you know, if you don't want them to color it in, use a daughter, paint daughter, you know, things like that, a stamp, anything like that. We use these game boards a ton, and I like to copy them because they like to take them home. They really, really do. I think they like to share with mom and dad, and, you know, you could easily make another copy and send home a dice or hope they have a dice, and they could teach their family how to play this. So it's awesome. And that is why I generally make these black and white, because they want to take them home. They're very proud of their game and which animal won. So, and many times I have to make multiple copies because they want to play again and find out who wins next. So that's always a positive thing when they're wanting to play it over and over again. So that's the second race game. That is Race to the Top. And then the last race game is actually a 2-player race game. So this one is more of where a kiddo would win. But this one is an example here. It's called Turtle or Hare. And so one student chooses to be the hare and one chooses to be the turtle, and they're going to sit right next to each other. So they decide, you know, dot marker, whatever it is that they want to use. But they're going to roll their die. And you could use your numeral die if that's what you're working on, if you're wanting to work on numerals. And they are going to stamp that many for Hare. Okay. And then it's my friend Turtle's turn, and he got a 3, so he's going to stamp 3. So basically what you're trying to do is get all down your track until you're the winner. So that's kind of a fun one. It's good for comparing sets as well. It's good for turn taking, and it gives us an opportunity to talk about winning and losing in a positive way. So this is the third race game, just a little bit different 2-player game. Okay. All right. Oh, let me check right here. Okay. All right. I hope y'all can hear me okay. The next game, so we just did race games. We're moving on to cover up games. And I think these are pretty common too. I'm going to share 2 different types of cover up games with you today. The first one, this is just a holiday version. And basically what it has is just a mat with some fun pictures and numerals 1 to 10. So what they're going to do is they are actually going to use dot cards. So simple dot cards. These go up. These go from 1 to 10. So I'm going to shuffle these. Again, I would add a backer to them and laminate them because they're going to be loved, and place them face down. And so this is a 1-player game. They are going to just work on their own on this game. So it'd be great in a center after you teach them how to use it. So if I flip this up, I got number 8. So I'm going to find the numeral 8, and I'm going to cover it up. Like for this one, it'd be fun to use jingle bells or fun to use Christmas-themed erasers. You can really just add some of that in there because that just brings more love to the game and more excitement to what you have for them to use. So pretty simple. They're basically counting, finding the numeral to match. Again, they could easily do this on a worksheet, but it is so much more fun to take a jingle bell, jingle it a little bit, place it on my number, and see if I can get all of them filled up. So this is cover up, and this one is a 1-player game. And I have another version of this that is actually a 2-player game. And it's kind of fun too. So basically, you can see that there. You're going to sit across from your partner, and you're going to roll the dice. So we're not going to use our numeral. We're not going to use these cards because these go up to 10. You could use them going up to 6 if you wanted to. But I generally use just a regular dot die. Okay. And as you can see, it goes up to 6. And so when I roll, if I get a 1, I get to stamp my 1. Then I give my other friend a chance, and they roll, and they got a 4. So they get to stamp in their 4. So we keep going until we can fill up all of the spots on our side of the board. if they roll the same number twice, they miss their turn. So then it's the next person's turn. Oh, I already got a 2, and we're already recognizing, oh, look, I know what a 2 is, and I know that I already got it. Now, I also extend this game by adding numbers 7 through 12 and rolling 2 dice. So I usually do them separate. I don't usually put them together and do them all at once, but it's super fun for those kiddos who are ready to go above 6 and are needing to practice those numbers 7 to 12. So we just roll 2 dice and we count all the dots on the dice, and then we play the same way, cover up. So this is the 2-player cover up, and I really like this too. We're turn taking, we're recognizing numerals, we're slipping in all kinds of different skills for them in these games. So those are cover up games. The next one I am hoping is a new game for everyone, or fairly new. It is called the Add One, Take One game. So what you do is you basically use an all gone game board, just like the one I had before. Let me grab it for you. Oh, it was this one. It was the hot cocoa. Well, here's another one that is more Christmassy themed, and it is snow globes. So again, I can use white Pom Poms as my manipulatives if that's what I want to do. But again, we're going to sit across from each other. Now this game, I usually like to start with giving students 5 manipulatives on each side. So I would have 5 on my side, you would have 5 on your side. And then I use this special dice that is an add one, take one dice. So it has a +1 and a -1. And we have to talk about, before we play this, what this is and what it means. So we talk about plus, we talk about give me more. It's a more sign. It says, I want more. And then we talk about the minus sign. It means take away. It means now I have one less. So we have to talk about those things before, but I really like them because it's getting them familiar with these signs through a very simple game. And it doesn't feel like adding and subtracting to them because they know how to add one and take one. So it's a fun game, and I usually wait until about mid-year to play it because it does take some explanation, and I definitely make sure that I'm there to talk to them about it. And so basically what they're going to do is they're going to roll, and if they get a +1, so they're 5. Just to review, their 5 puffballs are sitting next to the board, okay? So if they get a +1, they get to add one of the snowflakes into their globe, okay? Then their partner takes a turn. Let's pretend their partner got a -1 and they don't yet have any on their board. Well, they can't take anything away if there's nothing there. So they're gonna skip their turn. But you keep playing until one player can get all 5 of their snowflakes on their snow globe. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of taking away. There's going to be a lot of adding. And you'll start to see them realizing that they want the adding. They want the plus sign because the plus sign is getting them more on their mat. And I suppose, we haven't played it before, but I suppose you could do one, you could do a takeaway game, you know, kind of like the all gone game with the same concept. But I really like it just mainly because it is comparing sets. And it's also, we're really looking at what these look like. Now, that's not something traditionally that, you know, we talk a ton about in preschool, is adding and subtracting and the plus sign and the minus sign. But in this game, it really is helping them learn what one more and take away one is. So this is a fun game. Add one, take one. I usually start with 5 manipulatives per side. And then if you see that maybe that goes too short and they want, you know, they want a longer game, you can add a couple more. That's how you could extend this. But you just don't want to make it too long because sometimes depending on if you just keep getting -1s, it can take a while for the kiddos to get to those 5. But just start with 5 and see where that kind of takes you and what the attention spans say about that. Okay, this is our 3rd to last game. This is a fun game. This is very much kind of a mesh of two different things here. This is called the collection game, and this one is the Gumball Collection. Let me grab it for you. So it has a game board, and as you can see, it just looks like a path game, but on the path, there are numerals, okay? And then it also has this collection mat. So this is their gumball machine that they're going to collect Pom Pom gumballs in. So basically, you're going to give them a variety colors of Pom Poms for them to place into their gumball machine. Okay, they're going to try to fill it up. So what they're going to do is they're going to use a die and a mover, and we're going to talk about movers at the end, but this is just a simple magnet, and they're going to start on start, and they can go any way they want. Doesn't matter. So they're going to roll their die. Let's say they got 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I landed on a 1. So I'm going to add 1 pretend gumball to my gumball machine. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. So then I'm going to roll again. And this is very much a 1 or 2 player game because your friend could help you fill them up. So then I get a 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to add 3. So now I have 4 total. And I'm really going to be looking at how many more do you think I need to fill up my gumball machine? So we really are talking about a prediction. Once we get it like partially filled, how many more do you think are going to fit in there? What number? If you landed on 5, would 5 more fit in there? No? Okay. So we really talk about how we're going to fill this up. And then we can also try, after we're done playing, we can say, hey, if I use bigger puffballs as gumballs, what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to take me less time to fill it up? How's that going to change it? So there's really a lot of discussion that you can have with this. And, we're talking about area. They're really looking at the area of this gumball machine and how much they can fill it up. They're also looking at numerals, numeral recognition. They're counting 1 by 1 with 1-to-1 correspondence when they're moving around the Okay, am I back? My goodness. I never lose internet service, and of course I do right now. Like, that's just how it works, right? I'm so sorry. I'm hoping that you saw the end of the collection games. If not, please let me know. Oh, I'm back. Huh. I'm so sorry. That is just not cool. Okay. We are going to keep moving on. Yep, saw the end of the collection games. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's just cross our fingers that doesn't happen again. Thanks for staying with me. Okay, so next up is graph games. And this one is obviously good for graphing. What we start with is a game board. And this game board is basically just a never-ending path game where there are different graphics or characters along this path. And then to go with it, there is a recording sheet, and it is basically a graph. So what we are wanting to do is we are wanting to use this game board, and we can start anywhere on it. Doesn't matter. They can choose to start wherever they want, because basically it is a never-ending path game. And so they're going to roll the dice. And they could roll a numeral dice too if that's what you want to work on. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got a frog. So I'm going to come to my graph and I'm going to color a frog. Okay. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to roll again. Oh, I'm going to move me down to ducky. So color in one ducky. And we really want to encourage them to color bottom up because that is very much what they will do when they graph. So we want them to try to encourage starting down here, not just skipping all over, because that's going to help us easily see who is getting the closest to the top. And the goal of this game is for them to get one of the characters filled up all the way to the top. And this is generally a one-player game. You could play it with 2 players if you want to take turns rolling and coloring one in. If they love to play games with their friends, that's a perfect way to do it. But I like this because of the graphing component. It's not something we do a ton in preschool. We do it in the mornings during circle time, but it's not something we do throughout the day too much. And I love that this, you know, they're landing on it, they're coloring one in. Very much that. I landed on it, I color one in. That 1 to 1. We're putting those together. We're also comparing sets. You know, we can easily look at these and say, oh, frog's up here, duck's down here. Who's most likely going to win? You know, my prediction is frog because he only has 2 left. And so I always do these types of games with students because there's so much we can talk about and that they will bring up that show you what they know. And sometimes you don't always get to get in there and see that they understand that more and less concept. And then they'll show you. And it's just awesome. It's so awesome. You know, I've had kiddos be like, three frogs left. Dragonfly has 1. There's no way he can catch up. It's just not possible. And they'll tell me these things. And they totally understand that numeral sense. They're understanding that, you know, having 1 left versus 5 or 6, not going to happen most likely. So this is a fun game to play to add in a graphing component. And the very last game that we are going to talk about today is the Tug of War game. This is a super fun game. I actually played it with my son too, and he was like, that looks boring. I don't want to play that. He's in 1st grade. Everything I would do is boring apparently. But he loved it, and it's super fun. It's just a fun game. And so basically it's this really long board, okay? And you know what? This is included in the free download, and you can, if you want to cut some of this off, just cut some of it off and make it shorter. Not a big deal. I just taped them together. There's a win circle on each end, and in the middle, there is a hash mark, and that's where you start. So basically, if I'm playing on this end, everything on this side of the hash mark is kind of my side of the board, and I'm trying to get to the win. Whereas my partner is sitting across from me or on the other end of the table, depending how long this is, and they're trying to get to their side of the win. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to start with 1 mover. You only need 1 mover because you're going to share it. And so this, you have to play this with 2 players. It wouldn't be a very fun game without it. So you're going to start this in the middle, And I'm going to roll. And let's say I rolled 5. I get to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 towards my win. But then my friend gets to roll. Okay. And let's say my friend rolled 6. So they get to move it towards them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to keep pulling it back and forth like a tug of war rope until one of us is lucky enough to get it to the end. And generally when I play this game, like let's say we were here and I rolled a 6, I'm going to let them have that and realize that that's going to make it. I don't make them get the exact number generally for time's sake and just for frustration's sake. But it's a very fun game because you have to go back and forth. And you can really decide how long you want this game board to be. If you want to use the subitizing die and make it a shorter one, remember this only goes to 4. So you could easily make this shorter and make the game shorter as well based on attention spans. But if they're really ready, maybe towards the end of the year to do this monstrous game board, which is super fun anyway, just because of its size, and try to tug that mover towards them. So again, we're counting with 1-to-1 correspondence. I love the simple idea of, oh, adding some to my side, taking away some to his side. How is this working? You know, and really watching and making those predictions of, I'm pretty close to that end. You're going to have to take it away from me pretty far before I can get it. Because if I can get a 6, I can win. You know, we're talking about all these things. And obviously, since it's a 2-player game, we can talk about winning, losing, all that. And then we can play again to see what happens the next time. So this is a super fun game. And this is included in your free download below too. So that is all of the actual games that I wanted to share with you. But I want to take a minute to share with you some spinners and dice I just like to have on hand, and that some of them that I've created myself because I wanted it a certain way, I needed it a certain way. But the subitizing die is one of those. And if you have those cool fabric ones where you can slip in the pieces, again, can't remember what they're called, you could easily add 3 dots, slip it in the side. You can make your own pretty easily. This one is just a simple paper one. So they get crunched, which is the downfall, or you can use wooden blocks and draw your own dots on. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it. But this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. I added another 4 and another 3. So basically with the subitizing die, you're wanting them to know that this is 4 without counting it, because we want them to be able to see it and know the set number. And a lot of times it's amazing to me, but they will tell you, I'll say, how did you know that was 4? Well, there's 2 there and there's 2 there. And sometimes they just memorize that the shape is 4. So you could always move them around in different places, do 3 this way and 1 up here and see what happens. But we really want them to be able to subitize quickly and know that this is, you know, this is 2. I know that's 2. I don't have to count them. So that's a good dice to have. I also like to have the numeral die just because that is something that we are actually working on right now pretty hard, is getting these numerals recognized. So what is 5? What does 5 look like? And what does 5 mean? Because I'm connecting, this is the numeral and I'm moving this many spaces. So this is a good one to have too. It goes 1 to 6. You could roll 2 of these if you wanted to work on some higher level, you know, 3 plus 1, whatever your other die is. You could definitely do that. You could also make one going from 7 to 12. You could put any numbers you wanted on them. If there were certain numbers that kiddos were struggling with, write those on there. I know I have some chalkboard dice at school that I got at the dollar spot. Some of you might have gotten them. Easily write numerals on there and they can roll them, and it can be the ones they need the most work on. And so, you know, if it's 6, 9, and 10, you put those on there and they keep rolling 6, 9, and 10, they're eventually going to recognize and learn those numbers, those numerals. Another one I like to have is the color die for that simple race game that we did with the colors. And then I also like to add a spinner in. Again, I don't have the brad on this one yet, and I haven't laminated it yet. My others are at school. I forgot to grab them, but this is an easy way to just spin the spinner and go ahead and graph that up. And then let's see. Oh, then again, this one is in your free download, the +1 -1 game, the add one, take one game. It basically just has 3 of each scenario on it. So, oh, and then the cards. I like to have numeral cards available so that they can play games easily with these. This is good for the cover-up game because it includes all the numerals, and the cover-up board has all the numerals too. So that's a good one. And these dot dice, these dot cards too. I like to just add different ways for them to do it. Maybe it's not always rolling a dice. Maybe it adds a little excitement to have a new game piece in there. So maybe I'm going to use these instead of rolling the dice. And I'm going to take out, you can even take out some of them if you don't want to do 7 through 10 or whatnot. But just adding different ways for them to play the game it just adds to the fun and to the mystery of what the game is all about. So, and then obviously your traditional dot die, which is used a ton, and a traditional spinner. I know I got one at the Dollar Tree that I use at school. This is one that you could use too, just very simple, 1 to 5, if that's what you want to work on. I've got ones that go from 6 all the way up. So just different ways for them to play the game, just adding a little bit something new to it, because you don't want it to get boring. You don't want it to get to where they don't want to play games. You want them always to be exciting, always have some fun new game up your sleeve. So I also wanted to talk about movers, just the pieces that you use when you're moving down. Teachers are so thrifty and so amazing. So I'm sure that you guys could tell me some awesome ideas. I'm going to share some, but if you have some ideas that I don't share to use for movers, go ahead and list them, because I know that I'm always looking for fun ideas too. Erasers, super simple. I forgot to bring it home. Very forgetful lately, but I basically have like almost a tackle box of different erasers from the Dollar Tree and the Dollar Spot and whatnot in there. And so they can just pick which one they want. Today I want to be the pumpkin. So they pick the pumpkin one out, and that's what they are. So those are so simple because they can pick the ones they want every time, and they can be something new depending on how big your collection is. Pom Poms are easy too. I mean, they're not super expensive, and if you lose them, it's not a big deal. They can be different colors. So those are super simple. Lego guys are super fun too. If you've got a if you've got a Lego lover, using the little guys, we were using a Ninjago man to play some games with my first grader. So those are super fun. If you find them at garage sales or something like that, I mean, who doesn't want to move a miniature man around the board? That's super fun. And then also, you know, those dragon tears that you can get at the Dollar Tree. They're flat on the back and they look like a glass bead. Those small rocks, you can just use so many things from just around your house, around your school, things like that. Bottle tops from the top of screw lid bottles, pop bottles, wash them, super easy. They come in lots of different colors. Buttons are easy, and buttons can be fun because they have really cool themed buttons now. So you could use those, and one could be a pumpkin, one could be a scarecrow, little buttons. And paper clips. Paper clips are super easy. A lot of them are colored. You can get 2 different colors, paper clips, basically anything you can find to use that's small enough to move around the board. So if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them down below, because, you know, we're preschool teachers and we always are looking for brand new ideas. And then I also wanted to point out real fast at the very bottom of your screen, there is the free workbook, which I hope you grabbed, the free game boards, which I hope you grabbed as well. And there's also the whole set. So if you're looking for like a whole bunch of games based on the 10 that I shared with you, I put them all, I compiled them all into one big kit, and it's called Preschool Math Games. And today you can get it 50% off in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. So if it's something that you want to do, you don't want to have to make a whole bunch of boards, this will be an easy solution for you. It's down at the very bottom, so you can go ahead and grab that if you're interested. But I'm really hoping that you found some ideas that you love and that you will be able to take back to your classroom and use. Because if you haven't done a ton of games and you'll start to see why your kiddos are just so in love with them. Oh, marker lids. Yes, great idea. You normally throw those away. See, awesome. Little Paw Patrol figures at the Dollar Tree. Oh, fun. I bet they do love those. Oh, that's a great idea, Lauren. So yeah, keep them coming. But I just want to tell you thank you for joining me. And this will be up for replay in your email in case you need to go back and watch something again, something you missed. And if you have any questions, please let me know. You can drop me an email at ashley@lovelycommotion.com and or Facebook. I'm on Facebook too, Lovely Commotion. And just drop me a note if you have a question or if you have any suggestions. I would really appreciate it. But I want to thank you for joining me today, and I really hope that you were able to get some game ideas. So thanks for joining. Bye.